Welcome back to Full Force Combat. We are proudly sponsored by Hez Boxing Equipment. I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. Will fucking Fleury. How's it going, big man?
Yeah, all good, man.
So, how's it been going, the feeling of being the new champion, first of all?
To be honest, nothing feels that different. Like, I was straight back into training for another fight. So it's kind of like into one camp, like from one camp into the next camp. Like, it was a class event. It was an unbelievable experience. I spent about a week on holidays. It was class. And then I was back and I was like, right, back into training for another title fight. So my life feels exactly the same, to be honest. Yeah, it's just been like one long camp, really, is how it's felt, to be honest.
Absolutely. You're always ready. But let's just recap on Prague, because what a night that was, wasn't it? So let's just run through it, the feelings of it, and the fight itself, because the fight was fucking epic, man.
Cheers. Like, I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be a much easier fight than it was. You know, like he really showed up, in fairness to him. And the atmosphere, like, you know, like when you're going through something like that, you're not really appreciating it at the time because you're just doing it like you're in it and you're experiencing it as it's happening. But like looking back, Jesus, I've never had an atmosphere like that. And it was special, like, you know, even the amount of booing, the amount of like emotion that was there. You know, it's only after like I just harnessed that at the time and I was feeling it. But you're in the moment, so you're not thinking about it. But like, yeah, it was class. It was unbelievable to like, I suppose to be something, you know, you could feel that this was like a memorable thing for people. People gave a shit, like people cared about this, you know. And like even the couple of moments where he had like nearly had the guillotine at one stage. Now it wasn't that close, but like it was him coming back after having been hammered for so long. And fair fucks to him, like what balls to be having a go still at that stage, because he wasn't like he was just like surviving. He was having to go off and winning it, so fair fucks to him. But yeah, it was like it was madness going through it. But at the time, he was just like, right, keep going, keep ending, like keep trying to end the fight. Um, but looking back on it, when I watched the video, I was like, Jesus, yeah, that was pretty intense. Like, because even after the fight, like the lads was like, when we got back to the dressing room, they were like, "Whoa, that was intense." And I was like, "Ah, was it? I was like, I didn't feel that wrecked. I didn't feel that fucked up." But yeah, looking at the video, it was like, yeah, geez, that was intense.
It was really intense, and fair play to Karlos, because some of the shots that he kept landing with, and he was all over the ring. He looked out on his feet, and then after that big shot, he come back swinging at you. So I was thinking,
Yeah,
wow,
it was crazy,
this is some different kind of animal. This, but the atmosphere and the event itself, the like UFC events, aren't there? They've taken. It's fair to say Oktagon have taken over Europe, and they are top dogs now, aren't they, big man?
It feels that way to me anyway. Like, look, I've been at one KSW event ever. In fairness, they were doing great things for a while, but it looks like Octagon have really taken the mantle. And like they're very good at what they do. The promotion that went into that fight was incredible. You know, the fact that they had people that emotional about it, this whole champ or pussy thing, it worked really well. You know, it's like here's this guy coming over, calling out your guy. You know, he's making like he's talking about your guy like he's a bitch, you know. And that made people emotional about it. It's like, no, fuck you, he's our guy. So fair play to them. That was like a beautiful way of promoting the fight and a smart way of promoting it. And like, look, people bought into it. It was like on the night it showed. It was, you know, it felt I'd won like I wasn't there for the Kato fight, but it felt like this was the most emotional fight for everybody. It was the biggest event, you know, even like afterwards I've seen a few of the journalists talking about it saying like, oh, this was the fight of the night kind of thing. Like so that was class. It was amazing to be part of that. And like, look, we're the ones going out there delivering the show, but they're making people be invested in what that is, like, which is class. Fair play to them.
Absolutely. I think it don't matter who's on the card or wherever they're going now. The fans are invested and they'll just pay to see whoever's going. They're putting the bums on the seats. So your next opportunity, now this is another big one. Lazar Todev. You know quite a bit about him, don't you? Because he's been around the scene for a long time. So do you study a lot of your opponents? I mean, Vemola is well known anyway, but do you study a lot of your opponents, and have you studied Todev going into this?
Yeah, quite a bit. Like, I think he's an underrated fighter, to be honest, and he's been around
Absolutely.
for a while. I was looking at him, the fight in Frankfurt, like he fought the same night I fought Langer, and I was actually out watching that fight. And I just thought, geez, he moves very well for a heavyweight. And then I went back, even after that, like while I was trying to get the Carlos fight, I just went back and had a look at a few of his other fights. And I was like, fuck, he's very mobile for a heavyweight. Like, he's basically a big light heavyweight that doesn't cut
Yeah, yeah,
weight. And like, I looked at his record and I was like, oh yeah, he's 11-6. I was like, kind of, geez, you'd think a guy that good would have a better record. But then I saw he's gone, like, he's 9-1 in his last 10 fights. And if you saw 9-1 heavyweight, you'd be like, oh, that's a very good record. Whereas 11-6 is kind of deceptively like, he hasn't lost a lot. Like, in a, like, he's had the Moel fight that he kind of lost the decision, but it was a very close fight. And other than that, he hasn't been beaten badly in a long time. So I think he's a high quality fighter. Like, he's a good challenge. And like, as soon as I got the offer for this, I was well up for it. But it was like, yeah, this guy's legit. You know,
yeah.
you can't go into this one just expecting to smash the guy. You know, you have to have the work done. So like, it's been a tough camp. It's been a like challenging camp in a lot of ways. Where like a couple of like, because I've been looking for a lot of big lads to spar, and I've had Carl Moore coming back down, and like some of the sparring sessions have been fucking intense. Like, and it's kind of, it feels a little bit like, geez, I would have loved an extra week off in this, you know, before I started back into this. But like, yeah, he's a quality fighter. I've watched a good bit of him. I think he's the best lad I've fought so far in Oktagon, and I'm excited. Like, yeah, but look, I'm at the level now where I should be going in and smashing guys. You know what I mean? I've done the work for the last 15 years. I don't doubt myself against anyone, no matter who that guy is.
Yeah.
But it's like, right, to not be in that position where you're down, like, to not doubt yourself, you have to do the work. I've put in that work. I'm going to go in and smash Todev, but he's a high quality opponent.
Absolutely. The moment at the press conference when Moel threw the belt, was that sort of like a bit of a sign to you? He's throwing the belt towards you. That's an opportunity that you can get yourself in there for, because we discussed this, didn't we, about middleweight, heavyweight, all your options. So as soon as he threw that belt, did you think, yeah, I'm going to jump at the chance to fight for that if I can get it?
Well, I didn't know the fight was going to be cancelled. I was actually watching that press conference live, and I just thought, what the fuck is this lad doing? It's crazy. Like, but I thought he might still fight. And then it was only when I was watching the show the next day that they cancelled it. And as soon as the fight was cancelled, I thought he's going to have to fight somebody for that title. And they don't have another obvious number one contender coming up. So I knew that there might be a chance of that. But like, the Game Changer tournament was my focus at that stage. So like, after the Karlos fight, I was really like, right, I'm gonna have to make middleweight to make a big fight happen. So I was looking at going down to middleweight, and then it was only a couple of days later, in fairness, that they gave me the call, because it would have been a balls to be diet and then be like, here, look, you're actually gonna fight at heavyweight next. So they offered that, and I took it as soon as it was offered, and it was like, right, here's the chance to become double champion in a couple of months. Brilliant. Of course, I was gonna take it. Like, um, but like, I knew that it might come up, but it wasn't the opportunity that I was focused on at that point in time. But obviously, since I got that phone call, it's all been about Todev. Like,
Absolutely. Now, a lot of fighters, and as you said yourself, you was looking to go down in weight. That happens quite a lot. But moving up in weight now, how have you been packing on the pounds, and how's Spud life going?
it's good. But I haven't, like, to be honest, I haven't changed much. So I'm basically the same size I would be as a light heavyweight. I haven't tried to like put on a load of weight, because if I was to do that in the space of a month or two, you're carrying a load of new weight. You're not used to moving that body, especially if you're going into a 5 round fight. So I've stayed the same as I am basically. Like, I was about 103, 104 coming into the Carlos fight. I'm about 106 now. So it's not like, you know, like I could have been that 2 weeks out from the Carlos fight as well, if you know what I mean. So my body's basically the same as it was. I've just been eating what I wanted. Like, I'm fueling performance is the way I look at it. So like, if I feel a bit hungry, yeah, I'll eat a bit more. Like, I'm trying to hit about 4,000 calories a day, but I'm kind of actually not doing it most of the, like, I'm a little bit under eating, and that's probably why I haven't put on that much weight. But like, on the whole, it's been just like, right, just be as athletic as you can going into this, move as much as you can. Don't be trying to put on a lot of weight. Like, 2 months isn't fucking long enough to be putting on serious weight and then like actually using that for 5 rounds, or, you know, making it mobile, and like being able to like go into a fight with all that and use it properly. It's not going to happen in a month or two. You'd need 6 or 8 months to do that. Like, so I'm basically staying at the same athlete as I was. And thankfully, like, look, I think he's a very skilled light heavyweight, but he's not one of these absolute freaks where like he's under 20 kilos who cuts down, and there's going to be a huge size difference between the two of us. I don't think size is going to be a factor in this fight. I think it's all going to be about skills.
Absolutely. It's definitely fair to say that I agree with that. So, if and when, not to discredit Todev, but if and when you do reach double champ status, what's the plan for you after that? Because you must have had, it must have ran through your mind what you want to do next.
Yeah, I have some good plans. I can't really talk about it right now, but like, there's been a lot of back and forth with a couple of things. So look, there's options, and options are always a good thing.
Yeah.
But I have one plan in mind in particular, and like you'll find out once I win, because I'm going to announce it in the cage afterwards. So I'm going to make a few call outs. But yeah, there's been a bit of talk in the Czech media recently about certain things, and I'm going to exploit it, basically. So we'll see what happens. But I have a plan in mind. All right, yeah.
Absolutely. Bellator recently, RIP. You fought 6 times under the promotion. So let's just run through your memories, dude. Good, bad, anything. What's your takeaways from the promotion?
Yeah, like, look, I got a really good contract with Bellator, and that allowed me to fight full time. So back in 2018, when I got that, it was a huge boost financially, and it allowed, like, I was working as a bouncer back then, and I was doing 4 or 5 nights a week. Now I stayed actually until like my third fight with Bellator. I stayed working as a bouncer, but eventually it allowed me to be like, all right, you're fairly financially secure. So I will always appreciate that. And like, there was a time shortly after I left, I would have been like, they weren't the best to deal with and whatever else. But I haven't dealt with the PFL and haven't dealt with a few other crowds. That's the way this game is. And ultimately, you just have to make yourself as big a draw as possible. One thing I will say is Oktagon do a great job of promoting you. And like, I'm obviously a character. I'm a fairly intense guy. I go out there, I perform, I do my thing. Oktagon have harnessed that, and they've given me the opportunity to go out and be that. I felt with Bellator, and like I see guys like Derek Kelly and Kieran Clark now, and they're putting in great performances. Like Derek Kelly's undefeated as a pro and an amateur, up from the Inishowen Peninsula in Donegal. Unbelievable story. Nobody knows because they don't really promote their guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like you know the character. You don't really get a sense of the guy. Octagon do a very good job of building that. So that's one little thing I would say against Bellator. But in fairness to them, they paid me very well and I got fights. And like, I never felt particularly close with anybody in the promotion as such, but I was never mistreated by them either. So I wouldn't say I have nothing but good things to say about them, but they were good with me. Like, I wouldn't say anything bad about them either. They were fine with me. And like, I wasn't really like, when it all ended, like, because I won my last fight in the contract against Ken Kauppinen, and then I was told I was going to be re-signed. And then like I was told I was getting re-signed for really good money as well. So I was I was told I was fighting Fabian Edwards and that it was going to be a big payday, and I was really excited about that fight. So I went off and I was training away for that fight. And then it was like 4 months later, I just got called in one day and they were like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And I was like, all right. And they were like, yeah, just because of COVID and that as well, they're probably not re-signing. And I was like, right. I was like, why didn't they tell me this like 4 or 5 months ago? And he was like, they probably didn't know back then and all that type of thing. Anyway, like at the time, I would have been a little bit salty because I was like, I'm way better than most of the lads you have, and you know that. But it's probably just that I didn't do enough of a job on social media or whatever. That's my fault as well. So I have to take responsibility for that and say, like, right, well, if I'd gone out there and promoted the fuck out of my fights and made more noise and probably talked a little bit more shit at the time, maybe there would have been a bit more of a buzz about it. But ultimately, look, fighting, it's a sport, but it's a show as much as it's a sport. So be part of the show. Like, I feel like there was always a lack of show on their behalf, where it was like the product is just generic American guy A versus guy B, blue gloves, red gloves. That's like, actually, mate, if you're coming over and you're signing Irish fighters and you're promoting European guys, you're going to have to get into what this actually is. And if they're like, not to shit on Bellator, like they didn't do that very well. And I feel like the PFL are kind of making the same mistake where they're not really investing in the character, and they're not like, even it's this thing of like not actually talking about the good qualities of the guys you have. I noticed like they've like PFL have had Nate Kelly for a while, and Nate's been doing really well. Like he was smashing it up until he lost his last fight, but he was on like a 10-fight win streak before that. And like still there wouldn't be a massive amount of hype around it. And like they'd big him up a little bit, but it's in this really cheesy kind of a way of like, yeah, Nate Kelly, great elbows, great whatever. But it's like, no, mate. Like, go to Finglas, interview the people that know Nate Kelly. Like, Nate Kelly's a hell of a man.
Yeah, he is.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And when you listen to the guy speak, and when you like, so just you know what? Get a film crew to go out with that guy for a weekend, interview some of his family, interview some of the people around him, interview
100%.
him about some of the things he's gone through, and then make that a 10-minute video that you show before the fight or that you put out online on YouTube or something. And in fairness, Octagon, they do all that stuff, whereas the PFL and Bellator didn't. And I feel like you're missing out on a lot of like these guys because, you know, all right, I'm fucking quite an intense character, and probably inside an SPG, I am one of the most intense characters, if you get me. But like, there's a lot of great young lads in there, and I'm seeing their skill sets and their stories, and like, they're interesting. They're very interesting. And then I watch the fights, and it's like, you wouldn't have a clue. And then I'm thinking, like, sure, there's probably some Dagestani lad out there who has some mad interesting story that's fighting with the PFL. And it's just like, yeah, you know, got a ball off. And you're like, I don't give a fuck about him because I don't know him at all. And if he's
Yeah,
fighting against you, I don't really give a shit because I'm not invested in the character.
yeah,
And as much as I love to watch good fighting, you need a reason. You need to have a hook. And in fairness, Octagon do that. They give you that hook. Like, you know, Christian Youngworth. I feel like I know the guy. I'm interested in his fights. That's not the best fighter, let's be honest. But
but
like, if he's fighting,
the way they sold the main event, the King of Germany event, everyone felt invested, didn't they?
yeah, and even like before that, like, you know, this guy, the last Celt, and he's a madman, and he just trains his balls off, and you're like, yeah, I'm buying into it. Like, you got me. Like, you know, I'll watch his fight. Fuck it. Like, you know, so like, if he's fighting, I'm probably going to tune in. Like, and that's what they've done. And yet, there are guys out there like who fucking they're really really good, and you probably just don't know the character of them. And there's a reason they're that good. There's a reason they're that committed. But tell me why. Let me understand that. Like, and that's I feel like the American promotions in general, and even the UFC these days, like they're not doing a great job of selling guys. And it's the character that you buy into. You
Absolutely.
know, and even the commentary teams, like you listen to DC and these guys talk about guys, and they're talking about somebody else while there's two young lads out there giving the best 15
Yeah,
minutes of their lives.
yeah.
And it's like, how disrespectful is this?
I agree,
You
man.
know, it's
I do.
crazy. It's actually, and like, it's your product, man. You're killing your own thing. You're diminishing what your guys are. So why the fuck would you do that? I don't get it. Like,
Absolutely. I agree 100%. The storytelling and the hook that Octagon do,
yeah,
it makes you want to level yourself up even more and promote yourself up. I mean, the last one you did an interview with every man and his dog, and that was a part of their storytelling as well. So I think you've got to match it, the intensity, like you said about Nate and a few other boys. Because if the PFL aren't careful, if and when Octagon do venture back to the UK, or they do bring you back to Dublin, there's going to be looking for lads to fill on that card, and they'll be looking in your gym and other gyms as well. So yeah, they need to be careful, PFL, and that, don't they? Otherwise they will lose the guys to the likes of Octagon, won't they, man?
yeah. And I think like ultimately it's about creating a fan base, right? And
100%.
the fans have to know who the characters are. You know, like when I watched the WWE back when I was a kid, it was for Stone Cold Steve Austin, it was for The Rock, it was for these
Yeah, same.
guys.
Yeah,
I wasn't
same.
watching it because it was WWE
Yeah.
or WWF at the time, right? So it's like you get a guy, you sell the guy, and it doesn't have to be one guy. Like I think Bellator kind of made this mistake where they've invested in like one or two guys, and like they were like, he's a superstar. It's like, well, unfortunately, mate, fighting people are going to lose, you know. So it's like sell the character. Like don't sell it as like this undefeatable blah 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 guy, you know. It's like just sell what somebody is and show that with like 15 different people. And people will invest in different people at different, you know what I mean? Like different people will be attracted to different characters. But put it out there and get it out there on everywhere. And I know there's probably a good bit of investment in that and that's not cheap to do, but you'll get the return on that investment. Because all of a sudden people know who your guys are, they become mainstream, they become a thing. And Octa, like in fairness, like this vibe would be like, if they're gonna come to Ireland, it won't be this year. Like, look, they're able to sell out a 15,000 seater stadium in Germany with my
Yeah,
name. Like,
I
and
think
it's
they've
not like
maxed
it's
out
not
there.
based
Yeah,
off me. It's based off the Octagon brand, right?
yeah.
But like some of the fans of Octagon will know who I am because they're invested in Octagon as a thing, right? So it is like I think if they're coming to Ireland, they're gonna have to like create a bit of an investment in becoming a little bit like mainstream and part of the narrative, like they have in Czech Republic and like they have in Germany. They've done an unbelievable job with that. But that takes money, you know, and it's whether or not they're willing to invest that money in it. And ultimately, if you can sell out a lot of stadiums in Germany, and it's a big, you know, there's a hell of a lot of people in Germany, and it's a big internal market there, and they're on RTL Plus, and they're kind of mainstream over there. It's like, well, you know, it's going to take a lot to make you come to Ireland, but I'm extremely determined to do that. you know. And I feel like as long as I keep winning and keep winning and keep doing special things, I'm kind of one of the legacy fighters and I'm the face of the organization. It's going to be very hard for them not to eventually. But I know that it's not close, and I know that I have a hell of a lot to do to make that happen. But I'm very, very determined to do that.
Absolutely. I love that attitude that you want to be the man to spearhead it. So we mentioned
Yeah.
WWE there. Who was your favourite character, slash superstar from the Attitude Era?
So I grew up watching Mick Foley, like as in
Yeah,
Mankind.
Mankind.
Yeah. Like, and I bought his book when I was a kid. I think it was like the first book I ever actually properly read. Um, so I loved Mick Foley, but then he retired like pretty early on when I was watching. So I was probably about 11 or 12 when he retired. And then it became The Rock and Stone Cold, and so it was like Mick Foley mostly, and then The Rock and Stone Cold after that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was same with me. I think the Cactus Jack and Triple H
Yeah,
story.
yeah, 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 yeah. When they were
And then
doing
the
the
Rock
tag
and
team.
Stone Cold. It was
Yeah.
fucking mint, man. I'm feeling all nostalgic now.
Did they do a? Yeah, there was like a Hell in a Cell match, and Mick Foley got
It
thrown
was
off the.
they had a street fight. Cactus Jack and Triple H. They had a street fight, I think it was, and they had thumbtacks and pins all over the ring and everything. And then I remember the Rock and Stone Cold when they had this big event at WrestleMania and 60,000 in the Astrodome, and that I think was about 9, 10-year-old when that happened. And yeah, man, all the memories are coming flooding back now. You've
Right, I just remember Hell in a Cell where like Mick Foley got, or was well, he was Mankind at the
oh
time,
yeah, the
and he got thrown
Undertaker.
down through. The Undertaker threw him down through, and he broke the cage, like the actual
Yeah,
ring
man.
broke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
I don't know if that was supposed to happen or what, but it was like, oh fuck. That was obviously a pretty big impact. Like,
Absolutely. Now we're only a few weeks away, and there's another Irishman on the card, Dennis Frimpong. Are you happy that there's another Irishman on the card with you? And he's a great talker like you, and he can sort of like help push the Dublin thing and bring it along with you, Carter. So are you excited about him being on the card as well, big man?
yeah, big time. And look, like, I love the way this has been set, where it's like they've brought Dennis in to lose here. And it's like, mate, this is a brilliant example for you to show them, hey,
Yeah.
I'm quality. I'm legit. So it's like, you've talked, go and show them now. So I really hope he goes in and does it. Like, I hope Dennis smashes this lad. But like, I'm delighted they've given him the opportunity to. Now it's like, just go and do it, mate. Just please go and do it.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Absolutely. Now, let's just finish it off. I think I know what we can expect on the 8th of March, but just tell everybody what can we expect from the heavyweight version of Will fucking Fleury on the 8th.
Look, to me, it's about going in there and putting on a dominant and like, I suppose, showing the level of quality that I have. Because I feel like I did that to a degree against Carlos, but that was a bit more of a slugfest than I would have liked. Like against Langer, I picked him apart nicely. I feel like I can pick Carlos. Like he's a high quality. I think he is by far the best lad I've fought, right? And like I'd always be honest about that. I would have said I'm going to finish Carlos within a round, all this type of thing. I believe that when I said it. I don't talk shit with this. I'm very like open about how I feel about the fight. He's quality, but I'm going to break him down, and I'm going to break him down with like nice, precise technique. Now I bring a pace and I bring like a level of intensity to a fight, but I don't want this to be a dogfight. And he's a nice, tidy fighter. Like he's got that like amateur boxing style. He's quite in and out. He likes a nice, aesthetic looking fight. It's going to be a bit more of a war than that. There's going to be a lot more exchanging than he likes, but it's going to be very sharp, technical exchanging. And like, yeah, I basically want to like pick the guy apart over the space of about 7, 8 minutes, and then start to pour it on him. So the first 7 or 8 minutes will be like quite tactical, quite in and out style, a lot of exchanging, but like it might look like he's doing okay at times, and then from about 7, 8 minutes onwards, the momentum's going to go one way, and he'll last as long as he lasts in that period. So like, to me, I'd love a late second round kind of a finish, late second round, mid third round kind of thing. I see him breaking around that period of time. Um, but look, these fights can go very differently to how you think they're going to go. Like I really did believe I was going to chin Carlos in the first round.
Yeah.
I saw the way he moved, and I was like, yeah, I can chin that guy 100%. I look at Todev, I'm breaking him down a lot. I'm looking at different things that he's going to do and like just the different options he has. I'm kind of like, he's not going to be a guy who's broken down very early on. He's not going to overcommit to something unless he made like, you know, if he comes in, changes, and like I catch him early and he like starts to get a little bit wild, grand, yeah, I can finish him early. I've no doubt about that. But if it goes the way I think it's going to go, late second round, early third round, and I'm going to just be like, the momentum's just going to gradually shift, and you'll see the exchanges are going more and more in one direction. But like, I don't think it's the type of fight where you can get away without getting touched up a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So I think for a while it's going to be quite exciting, you know. And like, it's like, look, it's my job to sell the fight, but I don't want exciting fights. I want real dominant. I want like Langer style performances, like,
Yeah, man.
where it's just me beating the shit out of the guy every time, you know. So if I can make that happen, I will. But I expect there to be a few exchanges in this fight, like.
Absolutely. Everybody expect fireworks on the 8th of March from Big Will fucking Fleury. Up the Irish, Will, and speak to you again soon.
Thanks very much. Appreciate the coverage.
No
Cheers,
problem.
Dan.
Cheers,
Cheers.
man.